I just ordered 15 Philips Hue bulbs for the house.
Yes.
A friend of mine's got it. It's like, Siri, turn the living room down 50%.
You're gonna love it.
And they just go,
You're going to love it.
like, oh, I can really do that? Okay.
You're going to love it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it all uses HomeKit.
Yeah, I know.
So HomeKit works with, you could even have the Apple TV. If the Apple TV's on, you can make Apple TV your home
I have an older Apple
hub.
TV, so it won't, but yeah.
So you need the new one.
Yeah.
Or you get the new HomePod. Did you see that?
I did.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about that.
It sounds pretty nice.
Does it?
I got one, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to try it out. Just to try it out.
Sure.
That's what I told my wife. I just want to try it out.
Oh, I can return it.
Yeah. You got 2 weeks to bring it back. So HomePod sounds really good. Really good.
I don't have any kind of a like Google Home or anything, so I was waiting for that, thinking maybe that'll be my thing I put in the kitchen to say, I don't know, Siri, do whatever. I don't know.
Yes. And it's pretty good with that, because I don't know if you've had the experience with your phone when you use Hey Siri. It's not the greatest. This is way better.
Is it?
I even tested it. We're in a new space. I'm upstairs, and I even said it with like a fairly quiet voice. I was like, "Hey Siri, how's the traffic today?" Doo-doo. Oh, you'll take about 20 minutes. I was like, oh, okay.
And it's supposed to hear you even if the music's on.
Yes.
How big is it? Like that? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's about
that's
that.
smaller
It's
than I thought.
pretty small.
Oh, I thought like that.
No, a little
Okay.
shorter.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
So yeah, it sounds really good. And the thing that was most impressive to me was the bass, the low end reproduction.
Yeah.
And what it does is it's constantly auto calibrating. So if there are people that are speaking, like if there's vocals happening, it will adjust so that the vocals are prominent, and then it kind of lowers everything else. So it's constantly, but in very subtle ways. It's not like this obvious thing.
Yeah. It's on my list. I might.
But yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
But I just spent $300 on light bulbs. So.
Yes, but those are really cool. And did you get the colored ones, or did you just get the regular?
I didn't get any colored ones yet, because he has some colored ones, and they're fun. But it's like, do I really need my living room pink or orange or green? I don't.
You don't.
You don't.
The novelty wears off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to have the one in his kitchen blink purple when the Rangers won. He had some app where I was like, why is your kitchen blinking? He's like, oh, the Rangers scored. I'm like, wow, okay.
If this, then that is the application.
Yes. Okay.
IFTTT.
Yes. That's right. Yeah.
And a buddy of mine has it when he gets a deposit into his account and they turn green. And I was like, okay, that's pretty good.
So, like, one Halloween, he made the front all, like, orange and creepy. So it's fun for that.
Yeah.
The bulbs were pricey. I'm like, I don't think...
Yeah, they're not cheap, 40,
so
50
I got
bucks.
enough just to kind of, like, do what I really want to do, and maybe I'll eventually...
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Cool, So
you started to say, I'm sorry, you're...
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll sit down, we'll chat. I have a couple questions for you. It's like getting to know Robert.
Okay.
But really, I mean, the conversation can go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of what I want it to be, is that I don't want it to be this super structured thing.
Yeah.
Like, I've gone back and forth on it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to try to stay true, authentic. I think that's the 5th time I've said that since you've been here.
I get it.
We're authentic. But I really do want it to just be sort of just a natural conversation. Obviously, I have questions, and I obviously want to share you with the audience. But before I do, I want to try and do my intros.
Okay.
So, welcome everyone to Everything is Art, Steve Walter Photo Podcast. See there? I'm getting real official.
Got it.
Today we have with us Robert Norman. We're going to go into asking a couple questions for him. But first, I would like to say thank you to my buddy Tom, because Tom has the intro music. He created music. He's an incredible musician. He's going to be on the podcast, but he also has an album, iTunes, Spotify, Tom Lavery. Look him up. So thank you very much to Tom. Tom, I love you. Thank you. And Robert.
Hi.
How you doing?
Oh, we're on.
Yeah, we're on. Oh, yeah. No, this was the whole thing when we were talking about HomePod?
Okay.
Oh, that's all going.
Oh,
we've been rolling.
Including authenticity?
Authenticity.
Wow,
yeah.
That is authentic.
Yeah,
Good
see,
for
it's
you.
just natural, right? It's just natural.
Sneaky.
Yeah. So you might see me kind of riding levels a little bit,
Yeah.
but as much as you can, just staying in this range.
Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you sound fantastic.
All right.
Yeah.
Should I use my podcast voice?
Yes.
All right.
You can get in real close. Use that deep bass.
Carla Tenike will love that.
Yeah. So, Robert.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I wanted to have you come on because obviously you're a photographer. That's how I've met you.
Yes.
That's how I know you. And I'd like to talk either more or just about you and your photographic journey, your experiences. There's some questions that I had with you about, the sort of current trends and kind of things that are happening.
Yeah.
But if you wouldn't mind sharing, like, where did you get your start? Like, how did you start in photography?
I got my start many years ago, as I like to say, when dinosaurs roamed the earth. I went to art school for graphic design. I was always interested in art, and but was always kind of probably a little too practical. So I had a lot of friends who were studying to be painters and, living the whole painter's dream, staying up to 5 a.m. covered in paint, smoking clove cigarettes.
The fine artists.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I kind of admired that, but always looked at it and thought, I don't know if I can do that, and that doesn't seem practical. I was very kind of practical, I guess. So I thought graphic design would be a good way to go because it seemed like, I don't know what I thought I was going to do, advertising or who knows. Yeah. But I was required to actually take a photography class, and I had no interest.
Oh.
Zippo.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I remember going home, I don't know if it was the summer or Christmas break, and I was like, Dad, I need a camera, that kind of thing. And he was fine with it, and I got a Canon AE1, which I actually still have.
Ooh, nice.
I got it fixed, actually, a couple of years ago, so it works once again, which is kind of cool. But I fell in love with it. And to at the risk of dating myself again, at the time, when you shot a roll of film, if you weren't professional, you took it to a place or a photomat, or you mailed it one of those mailers they used to have, and it would come back 2 weeks later, and you'd get a package of print. Like you had no control over anything.
No.
Really. So to shoot a roll of film, we actually had to load our own film canisters. So to do that, go out, shoot a roll of film, come back, develop it, hang it, dry it, make a contact sheet, and make a print in the same day, and see it pop up in the tray. It wasn't an award-winning print by any means, but
right.
I was blown away. And so long story short, I dropped all my design classes and
switched over to photography.
I shifted over and didn't really know what I was going to do with it, but that was how it started.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So I went to school for graphic design as well.
You did?
That's my major, right? That's sort of my trade, if you will.
Technically, that's my minor now, I guess, theoretically.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I guess then I could kind of say the same. Maybe, although no, because I didn't go to school for photography.
Okay.
So I only majored in visual communication.
Okay.
Graphic design.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. See, and that kind of is what this was all about. Was the reason why I'm calling it Everything is Art, right? Is because I found that everything's art. Like there's so much art. And then what I've discovered even more so is that the connections I make with people, either primarily through photography or through some type of art form, I discover that there's more to them as an artist than just that one identifying thing.
Right.
So,
I think we also
knowing that art is in your blood, right?
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I'm good at photography. Like, no, you're an artist. Like that's what it is.
And that is just as a side note, that's kind of one of the I don't want to get negative or say problems, but when I see people who suddenly get into photography, particularly weddings or whatever, and I don't feel that there's a passion for it, and I feel that they're just doing it because I can make a few bucks, and then 2 or 3 years later they're out of it. That kind of angers me because I have been doing this for so long and just sort of driven that I kind of never felt like I had another option. Yeah. So when I see that, I just kind of scratch my head and think, okay.
Right. Like, what are you doing? Like,
what are you doing?
And even, not even that, like, what are you doing? Because, so think about any other trade. Like, no one would just go into being a plumber to make a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Because the amount of knowledge that you would need to actually successfully plumb? Is that the... Is that the...
Probably.
To plumb? Anyway.
That sounds dirty.
But yeah. Or to be a mechanic, anything like that, you wouldn't just dive into it and go, no, I can make a couple bucks with this. But with photography, there is this weird space with artists specifically, but photography for sure, right, where everyone's a photographer. Everyone's an artist. Everyone's a graphic designer. It's like,
well, because it's I think, you don't go to a store and buy dental drills and just randomly say, oh, I'll try this week. But you can go to a store and get some charcoals or buy a camera and just play around with it. And if it sort of sparks something, which is great that it does, but if it sparks something, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a career. And I guess that's where I get a little agitated.
Right. Yeah, and I don't think there's. I mean,
that I ever
no.
get agitated.
Right. No. Never. Not with clients. Not with colleagues. None of that. That never happens. We're always happy and positive.
Always very, very happy.
But I think that's an interesting point. And I realize we were talking about your path, but I think this is an interesting enough topic where you would say that, yeah, hey, that's great that you're getting into photography.
Sure.
And if you're into it, that's fantastic. But then when you see this kind of overwhelming amount of people that are into photography, and Instagram is basically where I see these photographers live, right?
Right.
And, you know, it says DM for rates. And I'm like, DM for rates. And then I'll go, okay, let me look through your imagery. And I'm like, why would I pay you to take pictures? Like there's nothing consistent, and there doesn't really seem to be anything. And like, and moreover is that it's like, I look at your stuff and it's the same as what everyone else is doing. Like I get it. You're into taking pictures, but DM for rates, don't charge money. If it's just something you do for fun, I realize you can make a couple bucks, but there's way more to it than that.
Yeah. I mean, you've probably heard, and I'm going to make somebody angry here, the expression momtographer.
Oh, yeah.
It's that kind of phenomena where, well, I'm a mom and I want to be creative and I happen to have this thing and a few people have said my pictures look good.
Yeah.
Therefore,
I can
suddenly have rates.
Yes.
You know? And so I never want to belittle or belittle is the wrong word. Not encourage anyone because if they're really into it, and do it as a hobby. I have things I do as a hobby, but I don't intend on getting paid for it.
For sure. You know? I play guitar and I like doing that. I would never say, hey, buy this song or let me go on stage. No.
I like to cook, but I'm not trying to cater.
No. And that's it. And and then, you know, not before long, then you'll see, well, here's the thing, right? When it comes down to the business, right, for us, as far as a career goes, now you have these people that come in and they kind of shift everything, right? Call it rates, but even just expectations of things that happen, right? Is that when people will go in and they'll say, oh, I'll do a photo shoot with you and you get all the pictures. It's like, whoa, what do you mean you get all the pictures? You have to license those images. You have to have an understanding of how this works and not just say like, oh yeah, give me $50 and you get 500 pictures. Yeah. Because then someone will go, well, that guy only charged me $50 for 500 pictures. Why are you charging me $3,000?
I'll tell you this about that though. It is when I started, and particularly when I started doing weddings, I never assisted anybody. I literally, honestly, I hate using that word literally. I'm trying to stay authentic. A really good friend of mine, I'm still friends with, I don't want to say she begged me, but she insisted I do her daughter's wedding. And this was now pushing 30 years ago. A long time ago. Yeah. And I just kind of said, well, you realize I've never done this before. And I did, I think all of it with a Hasselblad, including the candids. I'll put that in quotes. Yeah. And it was fun and I was a nervous wreck and she was happy. And so that was my first wedding. But point is, I don't think I charged her very much. And for many years, I did kind of what you're saying. We're like, I guess I'll charge you X, Y, and Z, which was nowhere near what I should have been. Sure. But I guess at the time I A, didn't know better, and B, was doing it based on just what I felt I would pay for someone who I thought had the experience that I thought I had. Kind of. So I can't really get angry at people who, you know, there's this whole thing about our rates should all be consistent. We should all, you know, bring up the industry by doing so. Yeah. And I agree to that. But I know myself, because I didn't know better, I did exactly what a lot of these people are complaining about. People undercharging and doing things like that. Yeah. So I guess I can't get too mad.
It's an interesting thing. Well, what's funny is that's how I started in the wedding. I had a friend who was like, hey, would you do this? Because I was into photography. And I was like, I've never done this before. As long as you know that I've never done this before. And I actually lost money because I rented equipment because I knew I needed better equipment than what I had.
I used to run down to a rental place in White Plains and rent flashes because I didn't own them.
Yeah. And that's you rent equipment. Yeah. Like if you need something, like there it is. It's available.
But flashes. I didn't have
flash. I don't have a flash, so got to rent it every time.
Every time. Yeah.
But that's I didn't know. And it's I'll kind of backpedal a little bit on what I said because I do think there is something about that in saying, hey, if you've never done a photo shoot before, people will say, what should I charge for my first wedding? Have you ever shot a wedding before? No. Don't charge a lot of money. Yeah. Don't charge $3,000 because you don't know what you're doing. Right. And then a precedent is set there. So if you set that expectation, hey, I've never really done this before, like if you cover my costs for what I might have to rent or whatever that is, then okay, great. And if you can kind of throw me a couple bucks, that's fantastic. I'll take what I can get. You're now, it's more about that experience. Again, as long as that precedent is there.
Well, then you're also acknowledging, hey, this is more of a learning lesson, and I'm kind of hopefully going to give you something you can use, but I'm not.
Right.
This isn't a business, really.
Right.
That's
this
the
is
difference.
right. Throw a couple bucks in my pocket, I'll be able to do this. So when I see those DM for rates, it's like, is this a business? Or is this just like, I just want a couple bucks? So I'm sure there's that in-between area. And not necessarily a right or wrong. And I wouldn't want it to be such a negative thing. Again, to your point, like I want to encourage people to take pictures.
Sure.
But also just be aware that, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
And I always do my best to kind of answer when people ask me questions. I'll get a lot of questions like, hey, I have this scenario. What do you think I should do? And I'm like, oh, cool. Hey, I'm happy to help you out.
Right.
Because, I want people to kind of say, like, I want you to be educated on, okay, well, what is licensing? So I do the Tuesday tips thing, right?
Yeah.
And I did one on licensing, and I had so much feedback from people. It's like, I had no idea that, like, that's how it should be approached. And I'm like, I mean, that's how you should do it. Like, your images have value.
I just got a call the other day from a bride for this June, and she's like, if this is bad, tell me. I want you to tell me. I said, okay, fine. What is it? And essentially, she only wants a few portions of her day videotaped.
Okay.
So they don't want to hire a videographer and spend all. They don't want the whole thing. She's like, I just maybe would like the first dance and a toast and this, that, and the other. She's like, so I have a nephew who's like 15, who's so excited at the idea of doing it. We're going to buy him some equipment, but would that be bad? Is this annoying for you? And I was like, no, if he's excited and this is what you want, that's fine. I said, and I wish someone would have told me what to do at the first wedding. I said, so if he wants to call me, I'll kind of tell him what to expect, because why have him be? And she was like blown away that I offered that. And I was like, why would I not, if this kid's excited, help him?
Yeah.
It'll make my day easier. He'll have more fun. I don't want it to be a bad experience, but
hey, I'll give you a huge heads up. Like, here's exactly how the day is going to roll out, and here are the things that you need to be prepared for. Instead of just being like, wait, what do I do?
Oh, what happens now?
Right. In the middle of your shooting, hey, Robert, what should I? No, don't talk to me now.
Not now.
We had time before. I'm busy. But no, it's. Yeah, you want to. I don't know. I want to share information, and that's one thing that. So going back to your journey, right? So you go to school, graduate photography.
Yeah.
What kind of photography were you doing first?
I always imagined I was going to be doing fashion photography.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So after college, I moved out to LA for 2 years, and I worked in a pretty busy photo studio. Somebody's upstairs.
Yeah.
It's haunted.
Yeah.
Thin wall. His claim to fame at the time was he did all the old cigarette Virginia Slims ads.
Oh.
And at the time, there were modern ones where they showed modern women, being all liberated, so to speak.
Yes.
And there were these old turn of the century Victorian photos of women being oppressed, trying to steal a smoke and stuff like that, which all sounds so dated now. But at the time, it was a huge campaign. So he did all these, and it was a major thing. But the first job, when I got this job there, which I still is a weird way that I got it, but they had a huge 7-Up campaign, and it was literally rain machines, and I just couldn't believe this was so not anything I'd had any giant productions, producers and food catering and just a big thing,
like movie set style,
kind of like a mini movie set, and so I did that for 2 years and realized I didn't want to do that. It's too much, too stressful. So I moved back here, ended up in Connecticut, and kind of pottered around doing whatever I could, a headshot here, a modeling thing there for a few bucks, and I did that, pardon me, for a really long time, not making any money.
Yeah.
There were some part-time jobs thrown in there too, and but it was that first wedding that kind of set me down the wedding road that kind of just changed my whole focus.
Ah, interesting.
So I blame her.
Yeah,
I always tell her that.
Thanks a whole lot.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then it's been basically primarily weddings.
Primarily, yeah.
Ever since.
At the beginning of it, I continued doing a few part-time jobs here and there just to kind of supplement. And as it got busier, it just got to be too much. So then I just focused completely on that.
On the weddings,
When I started doing weddings, I love telling the story because it kind of puts it in perspective, but again, it really dates me, and I hate doing that. But Websites were kind of new.
Yeah.
Not everybody had an email address or internet, much less cable.
Right.
It was still dial-up if you had it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was really the internet in its kind of website infancy. But I remember thinking, if I'm going to do this, I think I need a website. Like, it just seems like I think this is something I'm going to have. And I remember the Knot was new.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Again, like I said, when dinosaurs roamed the earth. The Knot was new, and I placed an ad, and I remember in the first week I got like 15 leads, and I couldn't believe it. Like, this had never happened before to me.
Yeah.
So I just kind of scratched my head and went, well, maybe there is something to this. So it's interesting looking back, as we all do at my work, and how it's completely changed.
Yeah.
But, I'm embarrassed to see to look at what I gave people even 10 years ago.
But it's fun to do that, right?
It is fun. It's fun.
To reflect and go, oh, I sucked. What was I doing? God. Like, just the style or just the approach.
Just the crappy lighting and stuff.
And not knowing that.
I found some files for someone from 10 years ago and went, oh God, I gave them these? Like, which I guess is good that I feel like I'm getting better still.
Right,
but it's still a little embarrassing.
Right. I mean, it's nice if you can do that year over year, right? Where you go, oh, I progressed. Like, I really refined. This is nice. Especially 10 years ago, right? You go back 10 years and you go, ugh, someone paid me.
When did actions become hot? Remember when everyone was playing actions to photos? What was that, 6, 7 years ago? Maybe 8?
Probably. Yeah.
I went action heavy for a year. If you look at that season, I'm like, oops.
Yep. Just bringing in actions.
Little too much with the actions.
Scam likely.
Oh, listen, it's magical though.
It's connected to the speaker. Oh, so unprofessional. Hold on, let me turn that on.
No, it's like a little fairy coming through the room.
Yeah.
Listen.
Hold on.
We had a little pixie visit us.
And it's on silent mode, so I'm not sure why I did that. Anyway, the actions, the presets. The presets now are like, presets. Yeah. Like, download our presets, get our free presets. Basically, give me your email address so I can put you on my mailing list. Which I get. I mean, that's the strategy.
It is sure. Yeah. But I went through a phase too with that, so I'm trying now to keep things a little more classic.
Yeah, and that's and right, being able to kind of go back to that, right? The word that I think of, not authentic, right, but timeless.
Timeless
is that when you look at an image and you can say, oh, that's not super dated, based on, aside from like haircuts and clothing, right? Yeah. But just the look and feel of that image and how you're posing people.
Right.
There are some images, some people's work where I'll look at it now and it's, I don't want to call it like extreme, but you look at some of this stuff, super wide angle stuff, really close up, and I'm like, that's not timeless.
Uber contrasty.
Yeah.
And I personally am not a huge fan of that kind of, I like to call it that weird, muted, underexposed black and white. I just don't like it. It's just me.
Yeah.
It's this milky.
Kids love it. Milky.
Those kids love it. This kid doesn't. And it just looks like this, like I screwed it up in the darkroom or something. That's what it reminds me of. But if it works for you, that's fine.
And isn't it interesting, right, that we've, especially knowing that you came from a place of film, right, the process, the time. When you're shooting, so a couple questions I have for that. When you're shooting a wedding professionally, do you use a film camera at all?
Occasionally, but not really so much.
Okay.
I was so happy to not have to fight with that anymore because I had a few parts of weddings lost at the lab. Rolls. I never lost a roll physically, but like I had 3 instances where film was damaged by the lab. And
out of your control. And
it's just out of your control. And it's the absolute worst feeling to go back to somebody. So not that there can't be issues with digital, but I just feel like it's alleviated so much of that I'll do it for fun, or I'll tell people, I'm going to shoot a roll or whatever. And they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I'm just ready to not do
just
that
digital
anymore.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing. There's definitely, people that I would want to have. There's a couple people I know that are very much into film now, young people, right? That there's this film resurgence again, right?
Yeah, there is.
It's kind of come back again.
It has, yeah.
And when you think about, okay, we've gone from film to digital to simulating what film looks like with digital files, like that muted stuff, the milky stuff. But then people are saying, well, I'm just going to shoot with film. But then when I look at some of the imagery that they do with film, the way I interpret that is, and tell me if I'm off the mark from what you've seen just in styles lately, is it just seems like, well, you took a basic picture, but because it's film, it's art. And I look at that and I
frankly
say,
don't see a difference.
the lighting isn't good, the composition isn't good.
Yeah.
Like it has these kind of unique colors and grain, but that's it. And you want to know what? I could do that in Lightroom with 2 sliders.
I agree.
So
Why? My feeling is why fight with film?
yeah.
Unless you want to just play around with it. But to really why fight with it when I can mimic it?
Yeah.
And if I put it side by side, if I printed it, could you really tell the difference?
Could you tell?
I don't
Right.
know. So if they want to play with it and kind of like do the retro thing, believe me,
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I was spoiled because when I got into photography, when I really got into photography, it was digital, like film.
So do you shoot any film now?
No.
Ever? No.
I tried last. I tried. It sounds so silly.
and failed.
Well, I still have 2 rolls sitting on the shelf that I haven't developed just because I just haven't been motivated to be like, oh, let me see
Plus
what I
it's
got.
expensive now.
It's
It's
expensive
scanned and everything. Yeah.
And that's the other thing too is
Yeah.
so you'll go through the process. It's expensive,
Yeah.
right? It takes time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the process of shooting film is fantastic because I have an understanding of it. I've never been in a dark room. I've never actually developed or processed.
It is fun.
And it seems like
very satisfying.
That would be right because it's hands-on, like it's tactile, right? Just like holding a print. There's something about holding a print versus swiping on a phone.
Yeah.
So I get all of that. But when it comes down to, I'm going to go through this process of taking it. Now I have this negative. Well, I'm just going to scan it and post it on Instagram.
Yep.
Wait, what?
See, if people were still doing the darkroom part, I would
Yeah.
get because there is really something to slowing down, getting in there, doing it.
Slowing down.
It's really, and you have to reprint it if it's too dark or too light, or this side you want to make darker or whatever.
Right.
So that is the other part. You're absolutely right. Like
Yeah.
to just then scan it. I did it recently. I just was fooling around with some film, and it came back, and I went, "Well, it's some grainy black and white. Okay." Like I don't know. Like
Yeah.
And it cost me $50 when all was finished.
Yeah.
Between the film and the developing and the shipping and the scanning and
Yeah. So it seems like it's a lot to it. So if you're going to a wedding, and the reason why I asked that, because I've seen some photographers that will come with, an old Mamiya or something like
Yeah.
that, or a Hasselblad, and they're shooting rolls, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just shoot digital. You have a digital camera, shoot the digital camera.
It's become a marketing tool.
Yes.
We're going to shoot film, and couples go, oh, okay, and they don't really know the difference. And although I will say this, I had a wedding 2 years ago, a couple from San Francisco, and she was an art restoration specialist. There's a name for
cool.
that. And
cool.
they really wanted some film because she wanted to get silver prints made. And I said, well, I'm going to have it scanned anyway, just to have it, but then I'll send you the negatives. And I said to her, you want to print? Go have fun.
Do it. Yeah.
So I appreciated their reasoning because they wanted that.
She's an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was digital too, but like you should have seen me that day. I had my digital, I had a 35 millimeter film. I had the Hasselblad. I'm like, wait, I want to do this way. Wait, one more. Hold on. What?
Right.
Luckily they were really into it. Yeah. But that I thought, that's cool.
And that in that case, right? Because to me, when I think about film now, it's you're doing it for that fine art aspect. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it to mass produce like that. It's not practical. It just doesn't make any sense. But I guess the gripe that I have is shooting film should be no different than shooting digital. Like you shouldn't change anything other than the actual medium. Yeah. Because your composition, your lighting, like all of that needs to be dialed in. And that's what I see is not happening.
So you think people are kind of like forgetting technical stuff and suddenly just going nuts because they have a roll of film?
I see these portraits where people are dead center, and the lighting is meh, and they're soft and it's blurry. I'm like, you didn't focus.
Yeah.
And what was it?
But it's film.
Right, it's film.
Yeah.
Will makes the joke that when someone says, I'm a film photographer, it's like, oh, so you deliver blurry images. And I think it's hilarious. So sorry to take your bit, Will, but that's what it is. It's like,
Thanks,
so you deliver blurry images.
Yeah.
And
yes, I do.
There is something with that. And it's like, oh, it's okay if it's blurry, it's art. It's like, no. It's 2018. That should be sharp. Like if you can't get a sharp, like if you can't focus and get it dialed in, I don't know.
Just don't.
But again, not hating on the film people.
No.
I think it's great, and I think it's cool as an art form, and I don't ever want that to go away. And I don't think it should. And it's just cool that it has had this resurgence. Kodak is doing what are they bringing back? Ektachrome, I think, or they've brought back Ektachrome.
So.
They're not doing Kodachrome because apparently there's too many chemicals, and they would have too many lawsuits, and it's just not environmentally friendly, which is a whole other thing. Not environmentally friendly at all.
No.
But they brought that back, and people want that. They also released a video camera. Like a 8mm. Yep.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it was Kodak. I forget the name of it now, but it's a hybrid. So it shoots film. You take the film, you send it back to Kodak. They would then develop, but they also digitize and send you back your reel and your MOV file.
Yeah.
So it's funny that it's just like, well, why wouldn't I just shoot it on my phone and put a little simulation to make it look like film? I get it. There's a difference, but it's the art form.
It's interesting, like, having come from film originally, seeing how it disappeared and has come back and has sort of mutated into just a different approach to the whole thing, like you're saying. So it kind of makes me wonder if and when this film phase fades out, how the digital craze will change into something different,
Yeah.
I always say to couples when they delay doing their wedding albums, sometimes it's 10 years or more. And I'm like,
right.
can we do this before the technology changes again? Because your wedding was film or a hybrid, and now it's digital, and it'll be, I don't know, holograms by then. So let's get this done.
Oh, yeah. Even just how you deliver. Like you put it on a CD, now you put it on a thumb drive now. It's just a digital download.
Yeah.
I haven't given anyone anything physical in quite some time.
You know what's funny? I got away from that, and I'm surprised how many people still add on a flash drive.
Really?
Yeah. I said to someone recently, I said, look, you're pretty tech savvy. I'm like, I can send you a cute little flash drive for $100 or whatever it is, but like, just go buy one and put it on it. Like, really.
Just do it.
Because you're going to get the files anyway with what you bought. So just back it up. She's
That's
like,
it.
oh, I can do that. I said, yeah, don't spend your money.
And that comes down to, a big part of when you're working with people, educating your clients.
Yeah.
In every aspect of like, hey, well, even going back to talking about licensing, here's how licensing works. Or here's how the process works. Here's everything that's going to happen. And then even to the point of, hey, here's what a digital file is.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and download these, and you're going to want to save them. Here, let me give you a link to a YouTube video.
So let me ask you this then, because there's a lot of talk about, physical things, albums, and the importance of that. So I wonder how you feel about that.
Yeah.
If you think that's something important people should have, or do you think just having a digital file is okay? Because I know there's a lot of back and forth on that topic.
Yeah, I still am a big fan of positioning albums to people. Yep.
I am too.
Digital files, digital files, sure. And I think that comes back to what we were saying before, was there's something about the tactile response.
Right.
And even, I just think back of being a kid, sitting on the couch with mom or grandma and flipping through the albums and going, oh, look at this. Oh, look at Uncle so-and-so. Oh, that's so, that experience you get when you have prints, when you have an album.
Yeah.
You can kind of get it with a TV, but it's not the same, because now when I view it on that TV, my brain immediately goes to, I'm looking at it on the phone and I'm just passive, scrolling through nonsense. When you're taking time and you're flipping pages, it slows everything down. So I guess that's kind of, now that I think back to like the film, you're slowing it down.
You are. Yeah.
You want to preserve that pace of consuming.
And as I explain to couples, I'm like, I may come home with X amount of pictures to start, and maybe boil that down to 800 or something, and then maybe boil that down to 80. I said, so it's a process that you're probably not used to, where we're starting big, getting smaller. I usually say, and then really condensing your day down to this great little concise story that then you can not only hold in your hand, but hand to somebody else and go, take a look at that.
Yeah. And that's,
which I think is important.
That's cool. Yeah. And you can, just the simple fact of being able to lean over and look at someone's lap, two people can look at it at once, versus a phone that you have to like hold back and swipe through it. Like, you get a text message in the middle and you have to get away from it. Like, there is something.
These damn kids today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
No, it's not. No, please do. And it's authentic.
It is very authentic.
So with that, what, as far as like changes that you've seen, right? Has there been one thing that sticks out in your mind where you're like, I don't like that it's this way now? Not to put you directly on the spot.
Yeah, no. That's a good question. The one thing I've noticed recently is I've lost a lot of, I think, initial personal connection with people coming in to meet with me before their wedding.
Oh, yes.
so for a while there, it was kind of, if someone was far away or out of state, I'd say, well, we could do a Skype or FaceTime or something, and they were cool with that. And that was kind of a supplement to, an actual meeting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was the phone. But what's happened now is it seems like nobody has the time or nobody's interested
to meet.
And it's gone from, I'd say, 90% in-person meetings to maybe 10% in-person meetings.
Oh, wow.
And so while I do actually, I think a FaceTime's kind of convenient because they can come home from work and I can be sitting there and, usually I don't have pants on. And I can...
That's the move. Camera from right here.
There's a visual for you.
Yeah,
pants. So, I love it. But it's easy, it's fast.
Yeah.
It's a little weird with the delay sometimes, but I mean, at least you
sure.
get to see each other and chit chat and kind of get to
Yeah.
So I like that, and I think I had a couple recently say, no one else even offered this option to us. This was great.
Yeah.
But I do just kind of miss, because I had this set up and it was me. You were coming into my home, basically.
Yes.
Have a seat. You're in my living room. Want some coffee? This, that. And so they kind of could see the space I live in and the way I work, and which I do think is a pretty decent reflection of me.
Yes.
And I just felt that I don't want to use the word sold because that's wrong. I just feel like it gave them a much better impression of who I was and who they'd be getting that day.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I don't like. I feel like that's gone away. Lost. Yeah.
I think that's a huge thing because I always sort of strive, and any wedding work that I do is primarily pretty locally, right? So,
Yeah.
so most of the couples that I've worked with, they're no more than an hour away, right? So to sit and say, hey, come to the studio, let's sit down and let's chat.
Yeah.
And right, it's not that you're selling them on that, but you are, right? Because here's the thing, like you've got $10,000, right? Where are you going to put that money?
Yeah.
And if you look at the work of these two people, and it's the same, cool.
Yep.
So how are you now going to narrow that down?
Yeah.
Well, I like this guy better than I like this guy.
Right.
And so you're going to be comfortable with giving money to someone that you feel like they made me feel good. Like,
absolutely.
It's no longer about the work. It's no longer about the money. It's about the experience.
Yep.
And so when you connect with someone, and the same is true with portraiture. I mean, I try to do this with anything. Same is true with our conversation, right?
Yeah.
You want to align with people that you're like, I like that person.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with that person, right? Like, if you were a jerk, I wouldn't have been like, hey, come on the podcast. You might have been like, hey, I see you're doing a podcast. Can I come on? I'd be like, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm pretty booked up. Sorry to all those that have reached out to me, and you're not on the podcast.
Now
Just
you
kidding.
all know.
Just kidding. Yeah.
See?
But there is something with that, right? Is that you
See how this one worked?
Did I just tell everyone what I'm doing?
More or less, yeah.
Secrets, authentic. It's authentic, man.
There are other words I have for that,
But there is something. It's that connection, and I want that connection.
Yeah.
So now when you were sitting in here, you're right. It's not. You're not buying my work at this point. Yeah, I'll give you images. Yeah, I'll give you this. But it's like, I want you to like me.
Right.
Like, I want you to connect with me, and I want you to feel comfortable with me, because this is who you're going to have for 8 to 10 hours on the biggest day of your life.
I tell people you're going to have me up in your business all day. Even though I stay back, I'm still there.
You're there.
And you're going to kind of know I'm there, even peripherally. So you want someone, whether it's me or somebody else, who you feel okay about that with.
Yeah.
So you do get that on the phone. You do get it, via Skype kind of thing. But I just do miss that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially too because I've been in your living room. And it's a fantastic living room. I actually saw you just redid the fireplace.
The fireplace
right?
over,
yeah.
No one's come to see the fireplace.
Oh,
since it's been done.
We got to have a party at your house.
Definitely, it's time for a party.
The pug meeting should be at your house, just around the fireplace. Just around the fireplace.
Just be fine.
Get a little tape, put it around there, be like, don't leave this mark. But no, that chair. The car chair.
It's the tail end of an old Chevy. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing is fantastic.
I had a meeting right after I bought that, and I felt a little self-conscious about it because it is the tail end of a car, and it has taillights, for God's sake.
Literally.
Yeah. And
I know you don't like that word, but it's literally.
It truly has taillights. And the first meeting was a girl and her parents and me. So the mom and she sat on the sofa. The dad sat in this chair, which is also an old movie theater chair, also kind of weird.
That's right.
And I sat in the car, and you're up a little, and it's wide, and I thought, I feel like I'm in a throne.
It's a throne, yeah.
It's intimidating, and I have lights,
Yeah.
But turned out the dad thought it was the coolest thing, and the fact that the gas cap still opens, and the dad's like, you should get a thing of wine and a tube that comes out, and you could just serve it. I was like, that's a really good idea.
That's
actually.
pretty good.
But I don't know. I think they booked me because of the chair. Actually.
Yeah, the chair. Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. It was the chair.
What do you think has changed a lot? Have you seen anything that you're aggravated with or wish hadn't?
See. Yeah, see, you're throwing it back
I
on
could
me. I
turn
like
this
that.
around.
Yeah, no, that's good. What have I seen change? I think, what have I seen change? You know what well, it's not to say that I don't like it, but just what I've seen change is, I suppose it's the promotion, promotion of yourself. So the days are gone of needing a website to have your work displayed. And more of what I guess I'm talking about is having this sort of concise work,
right?
This kind of group of work, a portfolio, call it, versus an Instagram feed.
Yes.
So I guess it's I'm not sure what it is that it's about that, but I guess it's really just the way that people are promoting themselves on social networks as a professional or not. And I guess it's the DM me for rates. That simple little sentence.
You should just call this episode "DM Me for Rates."
DM me for rates. I think that's probably the thing that where it's like if you're serious about this, be serious about it.
Right.
And if you're going to say DM me for rates, maybe I do want to see a website, and I want to see more of what you actually have to offer as a professional. I think that's it, is the professionalism. That's what I've seen change.
Well, when you said that, it made me think about the fact that, while a portfolio should be consistent, we all know that. It should show your look. But the whole thought that an Instagram feed should be curated, as they like to say, to the point where it has a certain color scheme, or everything is a pale pink, or everything is muted, or everything is, I get it if that's really your look, but there's this sort of conscious effort, I feel, that is not always sincere, to just get your Instagram feed to look pretty or look a certain way just in order to sell something. And maybe that doesn't make any sense, because that's really what a portfolio is, but it bothers me, and I don't know why.
Yes and no.
Why does that bother me? Tell me.
And you want to know what it is? One word: influencers.
Yeah.
That is what. So to answer your question, what have I seen change that I don't like is influencers.
Right.
So what I mean specifically by that are people that are good enough at photography that hey, you're great, you should sell your pictures. Yeah, I am pretty good. I will sell my pictures. They pay for a lot of followers. They pay for a lot of likes. They pay for this engagement to then increase their awareness and their potential, and their possibility of being able to sell their imagery to brands for, call it a small amount or a pretty good amount. So now I'm an influencer. And those are the people that I found that do exactly what you're talking about, is every single picture they post is exactly the same. So that when I go and I look at your work, I see one style.
Yeah.
And for me as an artist, I look at that and I go, oh, that's so boring.
That's what it is.
So boring.
That's what it is, because I've heard you're not supposed to post black and white pictures on Instagram.
What?
Because they don't click. I think that's a load of crap, personally, just because I love black and white, and there's tons of black and white I like to show, but then all of a sudden I have a color picture I think is really great. And to me, it's just Instagram and all that stuff for me is more, here's an image I took I'm really excited about. Take it or leave it. Here you go. Yeah. As opposed to, does this fit in with the last 6 I posted? I don't know if I don't want to say I don't have the time for that crap, but I don't.
No, you don't have time for that.
Here's a picture I took.
To strategically plan all of that out.
Yeah.
And I've experimented with, a lot of people will do, triptychs, right? They'll post up, and that tells a story. So that I see, and it kind of works, and I get that. But then to sit and say, oh, well, I have to make sure that this image is processed the exact same way I process every image, even though when you look at, and I guess this is where I'm a stickler for things, is that I look at an image and I immediately think, like, what's the story, right? As anyone should. You look at an image and you go, what's the story there? Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, is it a happy story? Okay, so then I would want color to reflect that happiness. But then when I see these cold, muted, faded tones, and I go, Well, you're creating contrast. Okay, so maybe they're doing that. Maybe they want the juxtaposition.
Yeah.
They probably don't. They're just making those colors because they know that's what their feed is. Or there was a reality show on YouTube about photographers. So you know how reality shows, they have all these competitions. Like you go up and, Inked is one where the tattoo artist and you're competing, right? So they had photographers and I was like, oh, this will be cool. But then at the same time, I'm like, this is going to be stupid because it's a reality show. But here's a topic I enjoy, so let me watch it. And one of the judges that they had come on was an influencer page. So this brand of people, not really photographers, just people that know how to get other people's images featured on their page. So feature page.
Okay.
And they've got, some 30 million followers, right? So all they do is take someone else's work and feature it.
Right.
So technically they steal someone's work with okay permission because people are like, oh, I'm being featured.
Yeah.
Not to say anything bad about that because, hey, you get featured, that's fantastic. I digress, but what the guy said was, this guy's work, I like his work because that could be on our page because we know that a lot of people on our page like the color blue. And I sat there and I was like, yeah, that's your feedback as an artist?
Yeah.
The people that follow us like the color blue. Okay, so you gave me some type of statistical, analytical information. Nothing to do with art. Nothing to do with the composition. It's got blue in it. Yeah. That would work on our page. Cool, I'll take it.
I was in South Dakota, of all places, about a year ago, and I took a kind of an interesting angle of a piece of Mount Rushmore. I just Instagrammed it. And like an hour later, I get this message saying, we really love that. That's like the coolest angle we've ever seen. We'd love to feature it on our page. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's $30 for this, and it's $50 for that. And I kind of said, no, that's okay.
No,
I don't need to pay you to put that picture on your page, so your page can look prettier. And I get what out of that exactly? Right. So I wonder when I see, I saw one today in the feed that a picture was really pretty, and I start scrolling down. I'm like, oh, this is one of those repost things from somebody posting somebody else's thing.
Yep.
I didn't ever think to then follow that person or see the rest of their work. I just went, oh, okay. Now maybe it works for other people. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's a big strategy with that. I mean, that is very much what quote unquote the kids are doing, right? And I say that the kids, right? But it's an interesting thing where, and again, I try to think. I've had people ask me, hey, can I use this image for this thing that I'm doing? And I say, okay, you can license the image. And they're like, oh, I don't want to pay for it.
Of course not.
It's like, well, I made that and I didn't make it for you specifically, so there's value to it. So please pay me for it. And it's not like I'm asking, I'm like, hey, can you pay me $30 to use this image, something. Right? Like you were saying.
Right.
I don't have $30. I'll just go ask someone. It's like, well, that's crazy, man. Yeah. $30 is nothing for you to promote something that you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to make money off of the image that I took. And I should be so happy to let you use it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did let somebody use an image a little over a year ago. I was in Canada, and I took Toronto, and I took a picture from the big revolving restaurant tower thing. Yeah. It was a clear day, just sort of straight down. I made it really contrasty, black and white, and I posted it. And 2 hours later, I get a private message from a realtor who's like, "I love that. Could I use it on my blog post tomorrow?" I said, "Sure, go ahead, fine." And she thanked me, and about 2 weeks later, I got a $20 Starbucks gift card in the mail. Now, I know it's not a lot, but I thought that was really sweet that she went out of her way to mail a card from Canada to me, I don't know. I thought that was nice.
And I'm not trying to say, don't let people use your imagery or these feature pages. Like, I'll tag pages because, hey, that would be great. Yeah. If this image that I'm okay with saying, hey, feature it. If this image got featured on a page where it makes sense for people to see me and then be aware of me.
Right.
But a lot of times it's just photographers featuring photographers featuring photographers. So it's sort of like we're all in the same space. It's like, now all I end up seeing is work that looks like everyone else's work, and then I get frustrated, and I'm like, why is this cyclical thing? But then it comes down to these companies, these influencer agencies that say, hey, we've got these top 50 photographers to this whole brand of people, and they're basically saying like, we could pay them nothing.
How do I get to be an influencer?
So you have to be like 22 years old.
Oh, okay. Crap.
You have to shoot with a Sony camera. No offense to people that are 22 shooting Sony, but it's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
and not, again, going back to that point of, not to say that that's what's griped me so much, but it's just this awareness of how even in the time that I've been doing this, right, say the better part of 10 years, seeing that huge shift in I'm going to post portfolio quality images versus this now where I'm just going to post everything. And it is what it is, and that's okay. But I guess I want to have versatility. I want to be able to say I can shoot that and I can shoot that and I can create different moods. Versus just saying I want to shoot the same thing over and over again, so that I have awareness and then I have followers that I could then get endorsed by brands to then just be this one thing, and you're just in a box.
I often wonder when I see those really consistent sort of pages, if I was to see the whole shoot or the rest of the images, do they all look like that, or have you just picked one to fit into the Instagram box in your feed so it looks consistent?
But you have all the other images for you, and you're like, oh, these are way different, but this isn't my branded style.
I just wonder, like, if I was that guy in that picture, if I got the rest of the pictures, would they all have that, dark, moody, brownish, tinty look or whatever it happens to be, or would it be a bunch of stuff and a few of the, I don't know.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah. So it's just one of those things that, you see it happen, and then it's going to change again. And it will constantly change. So part of why I like following these feature pages and I like following some of these people's work is because it gives me an awareness of what's happening. Like, hey,
for sure,
what are the kids doing? As I still just kind of say, it's like, oh, this is what they're into now. And immediately you see it, like, okay, cool, they're desaturating yellows, they're desaturating blues, they're going this super muted tone, they're doing that milky processing. Cool, I get it. And then someone comes along and they say, oh, everyone's doing this. Cool, let me sell a preset pack. Hey, buy my presets. By the time
the preset pack comes along, it's on its way out. I think. I do some antiquing stuff occasionally, and you'll see like cool trends of stuff like for a season or two. Let's just say old beat-up window frames. All of a sudden, everyone's selling old beat-up window frames.
Oh, yes.
2 years later, they're at Pottery Barn. And a year after that, they're at Home Goods. And by the time it's at Pottery Barn, it's done.
It's done. It's not cool anymore.
Right. And by the time it's at Home Goods, forget it. But it's the same idea.
Thing.
It just goes through this mill, and it just kind of, which is one of the reasons. Like I could, sure, I could probably start desaturating greens or something. That's a really boring techie comment I just made, but I feel like then I'm going to look at it in a few years and go, oh, I can't do that anymore. And I gave all those people desaturated green photos. Now everything's, I don't know, intense reds. Who knows? I'm trying to stay true to what I think makes a good photo and not kind of just go with the tide this year, this month. I know we all do it to a degree, but I'm trying hard to not be too swayed by that personally.
Well, because it comes down to, if you post that imagery, right, a potential client is going to go, ooh, that looks pretty, because that's what I see, right? Call it the Pinterest. Just Pinterest. I'll just say the word Pinterest, and every single wedding photographer knows exactly what I'm talking about. Every single one.
Say Pinterest again.
Pinterest. Yeah. Hold on. Pinterest. It is like you look at that and you're like, oh, this is all Pinteresty. And
how Pinteresting.
It's I like to say. It's just this regurgitation of the same kind of stuff. And when you first see it, you're like, that's really cute. I really like that. And then you're like, okay, I get it.
There it is again.
But like, can we do something else now?
No.
And now what you've done is you've put yourself in this space where it's like, this is my brand. But I like what you're saying is I want to be true to me and what I think makes a good image. So if I feel like this image, I want to pull down some of those greens. Okay, I'll pull down some of those greens. But really, the overall mass of my work is going to be Robert and not what's the trend.
I would like to think so, And I will fully admit that when I look at some of those curated pictures or whatever, sometimes they're inspiring.
Sure.
And, there was just a whole little article in Rangefinder that I actually kind of really related to. It was about finding photographic inspiration outside of the typical sort of photo world. And I've always personally looked to movies for that. And what I loved about this article is one of the guys said exactly that he'll watch a movie and look at the lighting and the angles, and I'm like, oh my God, like he's reading my mind. Like that's me. And so I try to, when I can, bring that into a photo if at all possible. So that's kind of my little encyclopedia reference back there. But when I say that, I as we all do, we'll look at some of those Instagram-y pictures or Pinteresty pictures. No, maybe not Pinterest. And go, that's kind of a cool angle. I hadn't thought of putting the person that way with this thing there, or but just try to still have it be you,
right,
or me.
Authentic.
Yeah.
That's good.
DM for rates.
Yeah, DM for rates. Hashtag, you gotta do this. Hashtag. I don't think kids do that anymore. Have you ever seen that?
I have seen that.
Yeah. Hashtag.
They don't do that anymore.
No, they don't do that anymore.
No.
I try to keep up where I can. Clearly, I can't always.
You can't. No.
Nope. Cool. So on that note, I think we'll wrap it up.
All right.
And then we'll do some portraits of you.
Oh boy.
And so what I'm going to do?
Where's the makeup crew?
Yes, in Photoshop. My makeup crew's in
perfect.
Photoshop. Yeah. We don't do pre-production because that's all makeup is. It's pre-Photoshop.
It really is. Yeah.
Or it's pre-production.
And even
because if it's post-production Photoshop, then it's pre-production.
Pre-production. Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, that's all it is.
I'm going to take a picture of you too. I brought my Polaroid.
That's right. So we'll do tradesies.
You'll get a physical, tangible thing.
Oh yeah, that's good.
$30, but I'll give you one.
And then what I'll do is I'll take a picture of it and post it on Instagram. That's what I'll do. I won't. No one will actually ever physically see it.
No.
I'm gonna take a picture of me holding it. Maybe I'll put it in front of my face of me holding it.
Oh, if you make that your face
Yes.
and then take a picture. Yeah, that's.
Then they'll be like, "Oh, it's so cool."
That's too Inception-y.
Yeah. So where can people find your work? Where can people find your information more about you if they want to find you?
Who the hell knows?
You got a website, right?
I do have a
Your website must have awesome analytics, though, or search engine optimization, because if you've had a website for as long as you've had,
I
right?
have.
Yeah. Googling you must be real easy.
It was one of the first 10. First 10 websites ever. It's robertnormanphotography.com.
Yes.
And the Robert Norman Photography also on the gram.
On the gram.
As the kids say.
On the gram.
Yeah. And Facebook as well.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Consistent branding. I like that.
Yeah.
You can find me at Steve Walter Photo. Actually, you know what I did? I bought the domain stevewalter.photo.
Oh.
So I have the .photo. So you can just go to stevewalter.photo.
Really?
Pops you right over.
I
don't think anyone knows it. And what's stupid is that when you go to like paste that, it doesn't show up as a hyperlink.
It doesn't?
It's not clickable. In many areas, it doesn't, because the .photo is not recognized by most browsers or most systems that are just so used to .com.
You're a rebel.
Yeah, dude. I'll do it. So you can find me, Steve Walter Photo. And if you like what I'm doing and you want to help contribute, so this is the other thing that I have a Patreon page. So it is patreon.com/SteveWalterPhoto. So what that is as I'll take the words right from my buddy Mike's mouth, it is a tipping and rewards website. So if you like what I do and you want to support what I do, please consider contributing. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a photo shoot.
Yep.
And I'm going to record the behind the scenes of that. So if you guys want access to that, go visit the Patreon page and you can see where you can get access to the behind the scenes of the shoot and behind the scenes of me processing the images. I go through and I show the process of culling, because I get people asking me questions. Hey, how do you do this? How do you do this? And I was like, well, I'll just make it there. And then if you want access to it, it's there.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of money that you would charge for that. But
good to know, though.
So just for you guys to know. And then also thank you again to Tom for La Musica. And let's do it. Thanks, Robert.
You bet.
Cool.